Hi everyone, my name is Joanne Schmidt and I am the curator of the Indigenous Studies and World Cultures collection at the Glenbow Museum. Today, for Glenbow from Home in our food-themed week, I'll be taking you behind the scenes of our Indigenous Studies collection. In many Indigenous cultures, animals, plants, birds, fish, and everything else in the environment were considered to have souls, life energy, or spirits, and they had to be respected and honored if one was to be taken for food. To this day, there is a very close relationship between animals and people, and certain protocols have to be followed in order to take their lives for food. This soapstone carving by an Inuit artist from Kugluktuk shows a hunter with a bow and arrow about to shoot a bird out of the sky. The Inuit are known by non-Inuit as the Copper Inuit because they made arrowheads, spearheads, ulu blades, chisels, harpoons, and knives from copper that was found along the shores of the Coppermine River. For thousands of years, the Coppermine River was used as a travel route, providing rich hunting grounds for several indigenous peoples. The Inuit hunted ducks, geese, ptarmigan, gulls, hawks, snow buntings, and occasionally loons for food. Can you imagine the skill it would take to shoot a flying bird from the sky? It was such a great skill that many prints from Kingate or Cape Dorset portray this type of hunt as well. For the Inuit, animals and birds provided so much more than food. Everything in the environment was believed to have an inua, or a soul. They would only allow themselves to be caught by humans if their spirits, or life essence, was respected and honored. In fact, Inuit tell of a time when a human could become an animal, and an animal could become a human. Can you imagine how much differently you would think of the animals that became your food if you believed they were also spiritual beings? The Inuit were not the only indigenous people that considered animals, or their sources of food, as being central to their spiritual life. This beautiful little basket is made by a Nuu-chah-nulth artist named Frances Williams. Frances learned how to weave by watching her aunt Mary Moses. Frances is considered one of the finest basket weavers on the northwest coast. Around 7000 BC, a west coast culture formed around salmon fishing and whaling. Whales were especially critical to village survival, as a single whale would supply food, oil, sinew, and bone for an entire village. Because of this important relationship, the whale hunt took on a spiritual element, and only the bravest men would hunt whales in an open canoe. This basket is made with a technique called twining. Traditionally, baskets were made from spruce or cedar roots and were used for collecting berries, shellfish, or other foods. Weavers would work when they had time off from food preparations, such as the August fish canning season, when they had a lot of work to do and no time to weave. When they do have time to weave, the subjects they honor are often related to the food they eat. The next piece we would like to look at is actually a cribbage board made of walrus tusk by an Inupiaq artist from northern Alaska. Many Inuit, such as the Inupiaq, call food they gather from the land country food. This crib board shows many kinds of country food, such as seals, walrus, and fish. For people who find their food from the land, food is much more than a package on the shelf. It is about a lifelong relationship with the animal, seeking it, catching it, cleaning it, preparing it, storing it, keeping it safe from theft, especially from animals, or from spoilage, and finally being able to enjoy it as food. Can you imagine having this kind of relationship with your food? The back of the cribbage board shows some of the steps needed to prepare and store fish. The Inupiaq put a great deal of energy into having fish to eat, and worried about not having enough. They receive fish with gratitude from the waters and go to great effort to assure that the spirit of the fish is pleased and honored, so it will keep allowing itself to get caught. The Inupiaq eat various types of fish, such as salmon, smelt, cod, flounder, and more. They eat it in many different ways. They dry or smoke it, freeze it, ferment it, cook it, salt it, or pickle it. How many of these ways have you eaten fish? The last piece we are going to look at is a feast bowl by Floyd Tyee Joseph, who was born in 1953. Tyee is a member of the Squamish band of the Coast Salish Nation. The shape of this bowl is adapted from a traditional feast dish, and as you can see, it is in the shape of a frog. Although small and peaceful, the frog has an important role to play in Coast Salish stories and legends, even to this day. The frog is the one in the spring who sings in March to announce the new year, and the singing of the frog announces the beginning of a new cycle to the Coast Salish people and culture. The voice of the frog tells us to put away the things of the winter, such as winter dancing and potlatching, and to begin the new cycle of preparation for next winter's activities. The little frog, although small, has a very important job to do in the yearly cycle, and is equally as important as the arrival of the first sockeye salmon, which is a very important source of food to the Coast Salish people. The frog is seen as the keeper of the sacred seasons and often honored in legends and stories appearing in artworks, totems, and house posts. Carving this bowl in the shape of a frog indicates the importance of what it would contain. This type of feast dish would have contained eulachon oil. Eulachon was a very fatty fish, and its oil is considered a delicacy among people living on the northwest coast. Eulachons are of continuing importance to Indigenous people who harvest them for food, social, and ceremonial purposes. They are eaten fresh, smoked, dried, salted, or made into grease. Eulachon grease is an important Indigenous food source. It is widely traded among communities living both on the coast and in the interior, and was often given as gifts in potlatch ceremonies. Can you think of some food you would give as a gift during your celebrations? Is there a food that you would trade for? Although this bowl is meant to be a work of art rather than a bowl for use, it still honors traditional feasts and foods. I hope that you've enjoyed today's Glenbow from home, and I hope that it makes you think more about the food you eat and what food has special meaning for you and your family. I hope you take some time this week to think about your food in a whole new way.